Truex.net. Martin, can you just talk about your mindset coming into this weekend, having led over 300 laps in the last 2 races here?
Definitely a lot on our mind coming here, just because of this year and what it's been all about. It's so different. I think think back to the last couple of years, and we've really been able to kind of come in here with the same strategy, mindset, set up, kind of look for the same things throughout the weekend. Now with the new cars this year and PJ1 on the track, all those things, different tires. I mean, it's quite a bit different. So we didn't have a great day of practice, but hopefully we'll make some good changes for the race. And it's tough these days when you come with a new package, you don't get a lot of practice. So we were off quite a bit to start and playing a little bit of catch up right now.
We'll go to Dustin, Kelly, and then Mark.
Dustin Albino, front stretch. Martin, you've had a good year, but what's the biggest thing you want to work on leading into the playoffs?
I think just being a little bit more consistent. It seems like we have a good race, or we win, then we have a bad one, then we win with a bad one. So, you certainly, approaching the playoffs, you want to be consistently running up front, be able to be fast and perform well at each different kind of racetrack. So, the mile and a halves have been a little bit of a, kind of a puzzle for us, I guess. Again, being so different than last year. We've hit it a few times, we've missed it a few times. So hopefully just find a little bit more consistency in what we're doing and show up to the racetrack a little bit better.
We'll go to Kelly. Right here. Kelly Crown Racer.com. Martin, I'm going to go in a slightly different direction here. So about a month ago, a couple weeks ago, we had to talk again of trying to make an IndyCar and maybe a NASCAR Cup race happen on the same weekend, doubleheader type thing. Is that something you would be interested in seeing happen, and what track would you think would be the best for that?
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of people in charge of making things like that happen. I think it'd be fun. I certainly love to watch racing in general, and I watch every IndyCar race I get a chance to. So it'd be cool to be somewhere on the same weekend and kind of get a little bit closer look at how they do things. I've never actually been to one of their races. So it'd be neat, I think, to hang around and check it out. But as far as making that happen, I have absolutely nothing to do with that. So we'll see what happens there.
We're going to go in the back left corner to Mark, and then we'll be up here to Gary.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Mark, a couple questions. First one, your thoughts on not only the aggressive blocking, you were talking, Brad got this, everybody talking about blocking with what he did in practice at Daytona, but do you feel like the level of blocking is something like you've never seen before, even on mile-and-a-half tracks? We saw even at, with the package we'll see in New Hampshire last week, we've seen some big-time blocking, it seems, with every package this year. Is that something on the rise, or what do you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely on the rise. It's a big part of this year and this package. And if a guy behind you is faster than you and you know it, and some guys are better at it than others, or more aggressive with it than others, but you're just trying to steal that air from the car behind you. And the guy behind you, his hands are tied when you block, and especially in the corners. On corner entry, if you make a move to take the air off the guy behind you, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. So a lot of it, it's about anticipation and trying to find clean air. And obviously on tracks with multiple grooves, it makes it a little bit easier. But it's a huge challenge, and there's no question blocking has become more popular.
How do you feel about that, just from the way you grew up racing in your style?
I don't like it very much, but it's part of what we do now. So you got to kind of just figure it out, and you kind of just you try to do all you can to keep the air off the guy behind you. I don't know. It just depends. I mean, I think at certain tracks it's different than other places, and there's been times where I know a guy behind me is way faster, and I don't even do that. I just let him go, because it's kind of the way I've always raced. So it's been interesting to try to figure it all out this year, and by no means I would say I haven't figured it out, but it's been a challenge.
One other question about New Hampshire next week, in the way that track it now, you use it. How much trust do you have when you go into one? A lot of times, if you're leading, you're going to give the guy the bottom, because if you can get off the corner, get off to a little bit better on the high side. Just how much trust do you have there?
I guess it depends on who it is and at what point in the race you're at. If you're coming down to the final end, the end of the race, it's pretty makes you a little bit nervous giving somebody the bottom, because you figure they're just going to run in there and drive inside of you. So It's become a completely different race the last 2 years since we started using the PJ1, and we'll have to see when we get there next week just how wide that stuff is and how much they're going to put down to see what the racing's going to be like.
We're gonna come up front here to Gary.
Gary Graves, Associated Press. In light of what you were saying about mile and a halves and consistency, how can your success here in Kentucky help toward that end? And what can you take from this track that can help you down the line at intermediate tracks?
Yeah, I think they're all so different, but I would say that if we could learn something here, we could certainly apply to Texas. I would say that Kentucky and Texas now with having one flat end of the racetrack and one high banked end is they could be pretty similar, and we weren't that good at Texas, so we could certainly use a little bit of help in that department going there, and it'll be a playoff race, towards the end of the season, so it'll be an important one. Hopefully we can figure something out here that'll help us.
As a follow-up, looking back at last year and how dominant you were, as a driver, do you kind of welcome the potential for another challenge, coming back here to defend the race, and would you be surprised by that?
I always welcome new challenges. I think that's one of the most unique parts about our sport and what we do as drivers and teams is, this stuff is always changing. You could win 4 or 5 races in a row or whatever, and you go to a different racetrack and you got a new challenge. They change the tires all the time. The rules of the cars are changing all the time. I mean, I would say that all the top drivers are, consistently working on how they drive the cars and how do they do better? How can you be better? Because everybody's doing that. So it's a huge challenge to try to stay near the top of this sport, and that's part of what makes it fun.
We're gonna go to Bob and then Chris.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. Alex Bowman's first win a couple weeks ago kind of reminded me a little bit of yours, in the sense you've kind of been around for a couple of years, kind of Dale Jr.'s kind of like a pointed guy, a lot of friends there. But what does a win like that, what does that first win allow maybe a driver for the psyche, and just like kind of being, like proving who they are and establishing who they are? Yeah,
I think it's huge to get that first one out of the way, and you just kind of feel like you belong. You kind of feel like a lot of pressure comes off, and you kind of, before that first one, you always have questions, right? Like, when is it going to happen? Is it ever going to happen? What do I got to do? What is it going to feel like? And so when you get that first one, all those questions are answered, and a lot of the pressure comes off, and you can just go about your job a little bit easier, I'd say.
Go to Chris.
ChrisKnightCatchments.com. Martin, the last 3 races and 5 of the last 8 races have been won from the front row, would indicate that qualifying is really important. Is it really that critical?
Well, I hope not, because I don't think we're going to qualify too good tonight. But I really don't know. I think as we figure this package out and as we've run it at all these tracks this year, I feel like things have changed so much. Early in the year, I feel like all the guys that ran good qualified bad. And now guys are figuring out ways to have enough speed in qualifying to start up front and be able to have good enough handling throughout the race to stay up there. And that's been a big challenge for us, is how do we get both? We've had good handling cars at a lot of racetracks, but not a lot of speed. And we've been able to take advantage of good handling. So, I don't know. I think that in a perfect world, you'd want to start up front because you get a good pit stall and you don't have to worry about traffic and getting stuck, trying to fight track position throughout that first stage. So I think guys are figuring it out for sure, and that's something that we are consistently working on and constantly working on. We haven't, as the 19 car, we haven't been able to figure it out quite yet.
We're go to the far left side and then go to Steve.
Joe Danavan with Fox 19 now in Cincinnati. Paul, your car, the way it's running today, notwithstanding, when you do come back to a track that you've won 2 years in a row, do you have good vibes, good memories coming back here? Oh
yeah, of course. I mean, you always do. It's always nice to go to a track you have confidence at and you feel good about, but then you show up and it's always like, like today we showed up and it's like, oh man, this isn't too good. So you're always reminded of how difficult this is, what we do, and certainly today was one of those days.
Go to Steve.
Steve Switzer, the Lasco Press. Over here, Martin, this side.
Oh, thanks, sorry.
The track's been treated pretty aggressively with the traction compound. Is that a plus, a minus? How do you feel about it?
I think it's too early to tell. I really don't know. Based on watching the truck race, it looked, it looked like in 3 and 4 there were some options. 1 and 2, I think, is just got so much banking and so much more speed that running higher is just a longer way around, and we're already using so much throttle through the corners that you just lose time. So it kind of felt that way again today for us. It kind of felt similar to what we've seen with the trucks last night. It'll be interesting to see how much it changes at nighttime, and is it going to grip up a lot, or what's going to happen there? Is the bottom going to be better than it was today? So still a lot of questions. I would say in general, I didn't think the PJ1 felt as sticky as I expected it to be. I expected it would be, really no chance at all of running the bottom and everybody would be in the sticky stuff, but it seemed like there was a mixed bag, so that's always a good thing, I think.
When it comes to the far right in the front, and go to Claire.
Claire B. Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Justin Haley came in after his first practice and tore his car up as he came into the garage and just ripped the splitter in the nose, and he said that the surface of the track was not even, or there was a grate or something, right? Have you ever had that happen? Because some of the other drivers said that they had bad experiences and they learned from it, right? If that, you come barreling into the garage and it's not what you expect?
I've never had a big incident like that where something got tore up, but I've seen cars crashed in the garage area before, and I actually was involved in a crash in a garage area years ago in Chicago. So, yeah, you just never know. You got to always be paying attention to everything. And some places the infield has, as you mentioned, drain holes and all kinds of weird stuff can happen. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Thank you.
Go here in the middle.
Jeremy Ralph, Fox 19 now in Cincinnati. Martin, it seems like since the repave in 2016, you've had a lot of success here, obviously. But some guys say that the track still needs character because of the repave. So where do you fall in the mix on that? And is there a connection to the repave and you winning the last 2 Cup races here?
Again, I think we just found a package and a feel that I liked and ran with it, and the cars were similar for, all those years, 16, since they repaved it really, low downforce, and the things you had to do to get around here fast didn't really change. And so, yeah, we were able to just kind of run with that momentum and that kind of mindset, or that strategy of setting our cars up and things. I think the track has plenty of character. The fact that both ends are so different, it's getting bumpy again. All those things make it a challenge, and everybody talks about turn 3 here, just how difficult it is. I mean, I feel like you're going, you come off a 2 and you feel like you're going 180, and you get to 3 and it looks like a parking lot you're driving into. It's just dead flat, and there's, the track's wide, but you just feel like you're going straight for the fence through the middle on the exit. So it's got plenty of character, and it's a really tricky place.
Do we have any final questions for Martin? All right, Martin, thanks for joining us. Good luck tomorrow night.